When you look at the real estate market today, it feels both hyperlocal and totally digital at the same time. You're maybe standing on the edge of the biggest financial decision you'll ever make, buying or selling a home.
Hmm.
And it's so tempting, isn't it? You look at Zillow or Redfin, these really smooth websites, and think, look, all the data's right there. I can probably handle this myself, save that commission.
It really is the ultimate DIY trap, you know. Those platforms, they're fantastic tools. I mean, really great for looking around.
Sure.
But they aren't fiduciaries. They're not advocates looking out for your best interests. So our mission in this deep dive is basically to show you why getting professional guidance isn't just a convenience you pay for.
Right.
It's actually a fundamental risk management strategy. We're going to unpack 7 critical reasons why it actively helps cut down on the cost, the stress, and frankly, the legal dangers in your transaction.
Yeah, we've really drilled down into our sources, pulled out the most essential bits. We're going to cover, well, everything from those hidden factors that influence pricing, how to put together a strong offer, right through to the legal paperwork that protects you down the road. We're starting with what saves you actual money right up front. Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay, so the first reason, and maybe the most valuable, is local market knowledge. People often, underestimate this quite a bit.
They think they know their town?
Exactly. They think, I live here, I know it, but they don't really have access to the tiny, granular data points that actually drive property value.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for just a second here. If I can pull up a Zestimate, or I can look at recently sold homes on Redfin, aren't I basically seeing the same data a professional sees?
That's a really common thought, and honestly, it's one that can cost you thousands. The key difference is something called the comparative market analysis, or CMA.
CMA.
Right. While those public sites show you the final sales prices, professionals have access to the multiple listing service, the MLS.
Right, the MLS.
And that includes data on properties that are pending under contract right now, and also properties that fail to sell, which is just as important.
Okay. So they see the deals that just fell apart and maybe why they fell apart.
Precisely.
Or the deals that are about to close, which tells them the absolute latest pricing trend, like right now.
Exactly. They see current buyer behavior, the momentum in the market, not just historical closing prices from weeks or months ago. And that data is incredibly localized.
Okay.
A great example our sources point to is the huge difference in value between, say, Northwest Arkansas and Northeast Oklahoma, even if they seem close.
Like Bentonville versus Decatur.
Perfect example. You might look at 2 homes, maybe structurally similar, one in Bentonville, one in Decatur, only 30 miles apart. A professional can explain that Bentonville's proximity to Fortune 500 headquarters and all that massive infrastructure investment.
Yeah, the growth there is huge.
It creates this enormous economic halo effect. It drives per acre prices way, way higher than in Decatur, which is just outside that immediate high demand zone.
Right. So without that specific kind of nuanced market intelligence, a buyer looking in Decatur might actually overpay because they're looking at Bentonville prices online.
Or worse.
And a seller in Bentonville might massively underprice their home because they just didn't grasp the current speed of corporate relocation and demand.
Exactly. They leave money on the table.
And that leads us perfectly into reason number 2.
Yeah.
Having a pricing strategy you can actually trust.
Yeah. Getting the price wrong it's like a silent killer in real estate deals.
Yeah.
If a seller price is too high, the listing just sits there. It gets stale.
People wonder what's wrong with it.
Right. Then you have price reductions, which makes the home look even less desirable. But if you price too low, well, you could be leaving tens of thousands of dollars just sitting there.
Wow. So the CMA is the starting point, but the strategy goes deeper than just the raw numbers.
Oh, absolutely. This is where the sort of human expertise really comes in.
Okay, so what does a professional factor in beyond just square footage and number of bedrooms?
Well, they translate unique features into actual dollar value. Right. They know which specific upgrades, like, say, a brand new HVAC system versus maybe just a cosmetic kitchen refresh, will give you the highest return in your specific neighborhood.
Micro-market specific.
Totally. They factor in things people love, like great views, extra land, maybe high-end outdoor spaces like a pool or patio. This strategic pricing, it's probably the most critical opening move in the whole negotiation game.
And then on the flip side, for buyers,
yeah,
maybe in those really hot competitive markets, like you mentioned, Springdale, knowing how to structure that strong opening offer is just crucial, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. And it's not always just about throwing more money at it. Sometimes that's not even the best strategy.
Right.
A good professional knows when maybe you can waive certain contingencies safely, or what kind of closing cost credit requests are reasonable in the current market, or even just how long the inspection period should be to make your offer really stand out to the seller, maybe over another offer that's financially similar.
So that strategy protects your bottom line right from the very beginning.
Yes, it sets the stage.
Okay, but even with the perfect price, things can get bumpy. Let's talk about what happens when that first obstacle hits, which, let's be honest, is usually negotiation. That's reason number 3. Negotiation skills that protect your bottom line.
Oh, yeah. This is absolutely where emotions can just derail a perfectly good deal. You get the inspection report back, right?
The dreaded inspection report.
Exactly. And suddenly the seller's staring at a, I don't know, $15,000 estimate for a new roof, and the buyer's absolutely furious about some crack in the foundation they didn't know about.
Yeah, tensions get high fast.
They really do. You need a buffer. You need an experienced advocate who can keep the emotion out of what is fundamentally a high-stakes financial conversation.
Okay, so if I'm the buyer, the professional is stepping in, negotiating repairs, or maybe demanding a credit to cover that unexpected problem.
Correct. Or finding a compromise.
What if I'm the seller, though, and I'm facing maybe low-ball offers after the inspection or unreasonable demands?
So as a seller's agent, their job is to push back, but intelligently. They use market data to justify your price. They help distinguish between, say, essential health and safety repairs versus just cosmetic things the buyer wants.
Okay.
And another huge one is when the appraisal comes in low. This happens all the time in a shifting market.
Yeah, I hear about that a lot.
An experienced realtor, they don't just panic. They'll often work directly with the lender, with the appraiser. They'll present specific comparable sales, maybe detailed documents about recent upgrades to the property to actually challenge that valuation and try to keep the deal from collapsing over it.
Wow. So without that sort of experience buffer, you could easily risk accepting terms that shave thousands off your profit. Or you might just walk away from a deal entirely because some obstacle that could have been managed just felt too overwhelming at the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which brings us nicely to reason 4. Access to professional networks. You know, a real estate transaction, it's like a village.
Ah, yeah.
It requires lenders, inspectors, title companies, appraisers, maybe contractors for repairs. How do you vet all those people from scratch, especially under pressure?
That sounds, overwhelming is the word. But okay, question. If I use my agent's preferred network, am I maybe sacrificing getting the absolute rock bottom lowest quote on everything? Are these recommended folks always the cheapest?
That's a really fair point. And often, no, they might not be the absolute cheapest option available if you shopped around endlessly.
Okay.
However, what you're really paying for, or rather benefiting from, is speed, reliability, and crucially, accountability. A professional's network usually means trusted partners who perform well under pressure. They know the agent relies on them.
Ah, so it's about minimizing the risk of delays and things falling apart.
Exactly. For a buyer, using a local proven lender recommended by your agent often means your loan is way less likely to suddenly hit a snag 2 days before closing because of some communication breakdown or unfamiliarity with local practices.
Got it. Avoids nasty surprises.
Precisely. And if you're a seller, and maybe the inspection requires a specific electrical fix to meet that closing deadline, your agent can call a trusted contractor who knows they have to show up fast and get the job done right because their ongoing relationship with that agent depends on it.
Right, there's leverage there.
It just smooths out the whole process, which is incredibly valuable when you've got deadlines breathing down your neck.
Okay, let's shift focus a bit, specifically to the seller's experience, and talk about reason number 5. Marketing that actually gets results. I mean, we're way past just sticking a for sale sign in the yard and, hoping someone drives by.
Oh, long gone are those days.
What are buyers really expecting now when they look at listings online? What's the minimum?
Today, marketing almost has to be cinematic. It absolutely starts with professional photography. No cell phone pictures, please.
Definitely not.
But beyond that, buyers often expect high-end drone footage now to show the property's context, the neighborhood, maybe nearby parks or amenities.
Yeah, see the whole picture.
And 3D virtual tours are huge. They let buyers anywhere in the world basically walk through the home remotely anytime they want.
Yeah.
And maybe most crucially, the listing must be syndicated through the MLS.
Right, that's the central hub.
That's the engine. It instantly pushes your listing out to Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, dozens, sometimes hundreds of other websites all at once.
So basically, if your listing doesn't look professional, high quality, and isn't blasted out through the MLS, essentially it doesn't exist to most modern buyers, right? It just gets lost.
Z gets scrolled past instantly. An agent invests their own money and resources upfront into creating this comprehensive marketing package that directly leads to more eyeballs, more interest, and at the end of the day, usually a higher final sale price.
Okay. And now, for the part that I think genuinely strikes fear into the heart of almost every buyer and seller, the paperwork. Reason number 6, paperwork made simple, which I think really means paperwork made safe.
That's a much better way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
This is the big hidden risk factor that people don't always appreciate until it's too late. The contracts, the addenda, the disclosures, they are dense. They're constantly being updated with new legal requirements, and they can be incredibly confusing. And the process isn't just about filling in blanks. It's about managing critical deadlines and meeting very specific legal disclosure requirements.
What happens if you mess up, like miss a deadline?
Well, a single error, like missing a contingency deadline by even a day, could potentially cost a buyer their entire earnest money deposit, sometimes thousands of dollars just gone.
Wow. Okay. And what about the risk for the seller, maybe even after the sale is done?
That's actually where the major liability often lies. Sellers must provide complete and accurate disclosures about the property's condition and history. If a seller, even accidentally, forgets to mention something important, maybe a past issue with mold or a leak that keeps recurring,
Oh, boy.
they open themselves up to potentially massive lawsuits after the closing when the new owner discovers the problem.
Yikes.
Professionals are trained in this stuff. They use contract management systems. They stay updated on state and local disclosure laws. They provide that critical safety net, making sure every T is crossed, every required form is filled out correctly. It's fundamentally protection against long-term financial disaster.
That focus on liability, I think that's often missed. People think, oh, I can just download a generic contract online. But the local laws and required disclosures can be incredibly specific, can't they?
They are extremely specific and vary state by state, sometimes even county by county. And that brings us to our final point, reason number 7, guidance beyond closing day. This really emphasizes that you're not just hiring someone for a single transaction.
Right. You're ideally hiring a long-term partner.
Exactly. The relationship shouldn't just end the second the funds transfer and you get the keys.
So what does that look like practically?
Well, the best professionals stay in touch. They remain a resource for you. Years later, you might be thinking about a renovation up. They can give you a realistic idea of whether that project will actually add value when you eventually sell.
That's useful.
They can provide accurate updates on your home's current market value if you're considering refinancing. And of course, they become your trusted guide for your next buying or selling decision, maybe years down the road. That ongoing relationship can be invaluable over the decades you own property.
Okay, so we've laid out these 7 sort of pillars of value. Now let's tackle some of the big questions that always seem to come up, starting with the most basic one. Do I absolutely have to use a professional? Can't I just do it myself?
Technically, no, you don't have to. You can absolutely go the for sale by owner route, FSBO. People do it.
Right, FSBO.
But the data pretty consistently shows that FSBO homes often sell for significantly less than comparable homes listed with an agent. Sometimes the difference is much larger than the commission saved, and they also tend to take quite a bit longer to sell. Plus, and this is the big one, you personally take on all the legal risks, all the marketing costs and effort, and all the negotiation stress that we just spent time outlining.
And as a buyer going it alone,
As a buyer representing yourself, you run the risk of overpaying because you just don't have access to that full real-time CMA data we talked about. Or you might lose out on the perfect house simply because your offer wasn't structured competitively enough against others.
and there's also a really vital distinction here, one that offers kind of an added layer of security. The difference between just a regular real estate agent and a realtor. Can you clarify that?
Yes, this is super important and often misunderstood. All realtors are licensed real estate agents, but not all licensed agents are realtors. The realtor designation with a capital R means that individual is a member of the National Association of Realtors.
Right.
And most importantly, it means they voluntarily agree to adhere to a strict code of ethics. This code explicitly requires them to put their clients' interests above their own, to act as a true fiduciary.
So it's an extra layer of ethical commitment.
It is. It provides an added layer of ethical assurance, and there's also a formal process for handling disputes if something goes wrong, which you don't necessarily have with just any licensed agent.
Okay, that's a key difference. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the cost. Many buyers especially hesitate because they hear commission and think they're going to have to pay this huge fee out of pocket. How does that usually work?
Yeah, that's a common worry. But for the buyer, in most standard residential transactions, there's usually no direct cost for the commission. Typically, the seller pays the total commission agreed upon in the listing contract. That total commission is then split between the seller's listing agent and the agent who brings the buyer.
Ah, okay.
So effectively, the buyer gets all that expertise, advocacy, negotiation skill, paperwork management, paid for out of the seller's proceeds from the sale.
Good to clarify. And finally, let's just hit that distinction one more time. Using a website like Zillow or Redfin versus hiring an actual human professional.
Right. Those websites are incredibly sophisticated search engines. They're amazing data aggregators, fantastic tools for discovery, for seeing what's out there.
Sure.
But they absolutely cannot replace a professional. A website cannot negotiate a repair credit for you after an inspection uncovers, say, major foundation issues.
No app for that.
Not yet. They can interpret those really nuanced local market trends, like the exact value difference between two specific neighborhoods based on upcoming school rezoning or something. And they certainly can't manage complex contract deadlines to protect your earnest money or shield you from a potential lawsuit years later because of a disclosure error. They're tools, not advocates.
So wrapping this all up, what does it really mean? Our deep dive seems to reveal that the decision to use a professional, it isn't just about convenience, is it? It's fundamentally about minimizing your liability and maximizing your financial outcome in what is a really complex, high-stakes situation.
Exactly.
A real estate professional acts as your guide, your advocate, your negotiator, your project manager, really, your partner, saving you time, saving you money, and maybe most importantly, saving you from unnecessary risk and stress.
Couldn't have said it better. It really boils down to protection and expertise. So thinking about all this complexity, the local market shifts, the critical paperwork, maybe the question for you, the listener, is what aspect of that whole closing process are you most likely to overlook or underestimate if you tried navigating this huge transaction completely alone? Because that specific area, that's probably where you need professional guidance the most.